Cinnamon rolls are kind of one of those iconic baking feats. I feel like we love our grandmas, we sometimes love our mothers. Mom, no, I do love yours, but there's something always special about grandmas. But when it comes to our own, they seem like so much work and they take so much time. So I thought there has to be an easier way. So I made these cinnamon roll muffins, and you know what? They are easier, they are delicious, they have a great texture, and they are my favorite. I know, I say that all the time and you probably get really annoyed. So I won't say these are my favorite, but these are absolutely delicious cinnamon rolls, and they take just a little over an hour, which if you make cinnamon rolls, you know that is a big deal. So get in the kitchen and you need to try these. To start, you just want to take a warm cup of whole milk. Whole milk makes a difference. It's a little bit richer, of course, because it has more fat, but if you just have skim, you can use that too. I just warmed my milk up in the microwave. About a minute in the microwave and it's good to go. Pour the milk right into the bowl of an electric mixer. Add some butter and a little bit of sugar and some salt. Just whisk it slightly to make sure that the sugar dissolves and the butter melts. Just whisk it for a few times, let it sit a little bit. Once everything's dissolved, you can just add your eggs. I crack them into a bowl first, although I'm really bad at cracking and I always get shell in, so that's why I use a bowl. If you want to live life on the edge, just crack them straight into your stand mixer. That's what I usually do when I'm not filming. After the egg, you just want to add 1 egg yolk. That's gonna add a lot of richness without the moisture of the white, and it's just absolutely delicious. Oh, I should have told you, these are almost like a brioche style roll. Not quite, they're an easier version, kind of a cheater way, but believe me, they're delicious. Whisk the egg and the yolk into that wet mixture and just until they're combined and everything's homogeneous and loving each other, and then you can add your flour. Now, like with any baked good and any yeasted bread, you don't want to add quite all the flour in the beginning. I add the majority of it with the instant yeast. That is definitely something that makes this recipe different than all others. I only use instant rapid rise yeast in all of my baking applications, and I am using a whole tablespoon in these. That's why they're a little bit quicker, but they get that great yeasted flavor and they are delicious. With the dough hook, just mix that up until it starts getting well combined. It will become a shaggy dough, and then turn it up to about on high. If your mixer is like mine, it is gonna go all over the place, so hold it down if you need to because it shakes, it jiggles, especially on my island. But put it on high so it really develops some good gluten in that dough. At this point, slow it down and you can see if you need to, you can add some more flour, but you just want all the dough to come up on the hook that you're using to mix it. When it starts coming together on that hook and it isn't so stuck to the sides and is cleaning kind of the sides of the bowl, then you know you've added enough flour. At that point, you just want to add a little bit more butter. This is kind of where that brioche style comes in. A lot of times at the end of a brioche dough, you'll work in that butter. With the softened butter, just work them in a little piece at a time and let them work in completely until you add the next piece. Once all that's worked in, I just like to put a little bit of flour down on the counter and work it a few times by hand just so I can get a feel, make sure it's smooth, and it is just, you know what? It's just fun to work with dough. I can't let the machine do all the work. I have to feel like I did something. Butter a bowl with some soft butter and then just roll that dough ball in there once to make sure it's moist all over. Cover the bowl and then just set it aside in a warm place. Now this is usually where you'd wait 1 to 2 hours, let it rise till double, and do that whole long process. This is not those kind of rolls. This is an easy roll. It is the people's roll. I cannot wait for you to make these. We are gonna let it sit there for about 30 minutes. And it is not gonna rise that much, if at all. Don't fear, I promise. While that dough is resting, just mix together that filling ingredients. A little bit of melted butter, some brown sugar, and a lot of cinnamon. I am putting extra cinnamon in here than you think because at first it's gonna seem really thin and soupy, but then after it sits, it's gonna become a little bit thicker and that cinnamon is really gonna help it congeal almost and become a great filling. Just mix that together and set it aside. After 30 minutes, put a little flour down on your counter and then roll this out. It's such an easy and smooth dough to roll out. And if it kind of stretches back a little bit or bounces back and is really elastic, just let it sit there a little bit and then keep rolling. And you can slightly stretch it by hand, just a little bit, not too much, just to get the shape you want. You just want a nice rectangle. I like to roll mine out to 18 inches long and roughly 12 inches wide or tall. If it's not quite that height, more the 18 inches is more important. But since we're doing the muffin pans, the size isn't near as important as it is other times. Once that dough is rolled out, you can just spread on that filling that we prepared. It's gonna become a little bit thicker now that it has sat. You just wanna spread it really completely over the whole rolled out dough. I like to leave about a ½ inch on the one long side, just where I wanna pinch it shut. Start rolling them up. I like to roll as tightly as I can. You can kind of reshape it if you need to, if it looks a little bit misshapen. Once it's rolled up, I like to push it back a little bit on the counter, roll it over where that seam is, and pinch it closed. Now, we are putting these in muffin tins, so it's not extremely important, but it just gives me a little bit of added insurance. Set a 12-cup muffin tin right on top of a parchment-lined baking sheet. I just do that to make sure if it bubbles over, it doesn't get my oven too dirty. And then make sure to grease that muffin tin really well. Cut the rolls into 12. We are making 12 rolls for the 12-cup muffin tin. This could not be easier. And I just kind of eyeball it. First cut the center, then you have 2 equal halves, and then cut each of those in halves. So you have 4 equal halves, and then cut each of those in 3. Maybe it sounds confusing, but believe me, you'll totally get it when you start cutting. I like to use a serrated knife. I think it cuts through pretty easily and quickly and doesn't smash them. Once your rolls are cut, you can just put them right into those prepared muffin tins. Slightly tap them down once they're in there, just with the palm of your hand, just to make sure they're in there really well. And then again, we're gonna set them aside for 30 minutes. Now, don't be worried. In those 30 minutes, they are not gonna change that much. The dough is just gonna relax. They're not gonna raise like a normal roll would. You don't have to wait till they get that big crown on them. This is easy. After 30 minutes, pop them right into your preheated oven, and in about 25 to 30 minutes, you are gonna have delicious warm rolls. But wait, I did not forget about the frosting. While they're baking off, you can just make a delicious brown butter frosting. This is my favorite for rolls. I know there's always that argument, cream cheese. I'm not a huge cream cheese fan when it comes to frosting my rolls. I love what my grandma did and my mom did, and that is brown butter icing. Put your butter into a large pan. Over low heat, let it melt, and then it will start bubbling, and then after a few minutes of bubbling, it will subside and get foam on top, and soon enough, if you swirl the pan and really look, you're gonna notice the brown bits on the bottom. When you see the brown, you wanna watch really closely and just make sure it gets an even, light brown, almost toasty color, and you are gonna smell it too, but don't let it get too brown. Once you get that color, remove it from the heat. Off the heat, you can sift right in your powdered sugar just to make sure there are no lumps. And your vanilla. After you whisk that a little bit, you're usually gonna need to add a little bit of milk. So just add your milk until it thins out into a really great glaze type frosting, and then set it aside. Make sure it just stays warm. I like to keep mine on the stove until you're ready to use it. When your rolls are done, some of them are gonna slightly puff up in the middle like a normal roll. Some may not, that's totally okay, because they're more like a muffin. They're delicious. Just pull them from the oven, let them sit in the pan for a few minutes, but while they're warm, make sure to frost them, because then the frosting really congeals on them and drips down the sides and gets in all those crevices. Believe me, you want them to be warm when you're frosting them. But this frosting will harden if you let it sit too long, so make sure to frost them soon after they come out of the oven. Once they're frosted, enjoy, eat them, all of them. I won't judge you, because when they're warm and fresh, you want to eat rolls. What's great about these is you can make them on a weekend morning if you want them. You hardly have to get up that much earlier, and you can have fresh rolls. All your friends are gonna love these. They are tender and delicious. I cannot wait for you to try these, and I know they're gonna become your favorite muffin, because who doesn't want a cinnamon roll and a muffin put together? If you agree and like this recipe, make sure to click like below and share it around, because I love to hear from you on Instagram and Facebook. Can't wait to hear how you are enjoying these cinnamon roll muffins.